welcome to Voices on the Move. Today we are going to talk about Vipassana Meditation. This is a meditation technique in which people observe their breathing, observe their sensations, and try to understand better how the mind works and how works the world around us. We have a special guest. His name is Richard. He's undergone a Vipassana meditation course, two 10 days Vipassana meditation courses. We're going to ask him about his experience and some benefits which he's got from this course where he stood 10 days in isolation, meditating many hours a day, keeping vegetarian diet, not having access to his phone, and keeping noble silence for the whole 10 days. So yeah, let's go and find out. Hello, Richard.
Hello.
Thank you for taking the time to talk about the meditation. Can you tell us, please, when was the first time you took this course?
A little over 2 years ago.
What made you want to try this experience? How have you maybe heard about it?
Mm-hmm. So I've been meditating quite a while, particularly got into meditation during COVID. And I guess like many other people who get into meditation, I started to hear about Vipassana. Mm-hmm. Watched a couple of YouTube videos. I got into my head that it was like a boot camp, it was a spiritual boot camp. This really appealed to me on some visceral level. I really liked that. I like that sense that I would be doing something really tough. When my kids were growing up, I really liked to watch shows about marine training. With them, I have no idea why. Could get into it, but if I don't necessarily want to get into it at this moment. But it was certainly something that was important for me. This idea of going through a tough process, something was gained, or you achieved some different state. And I believe, therefore, that this Vipassana boot camp would be an opportunity for great growth that maybe just regular meditative practice wouldn't allow me to achieve.
So you had some other meditation experiences before the Vipassana?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what kind of meditation it was?
I don't know exactly what type it was. It was with a guy called Reggie Ray, mm-hmm. who's an American Buddhist, not quite Buddhist, American who believes in some key aspects of Buddhist practice. And so I did lots of the online courses that he was offering, particularly mm-hmm. during that lockdown period.
Was there anything you looked at with apprehension before the course when you read the description of the course?
Yeah.
And this noble silence, restrictions with your meals, and isolation, no access to your smartphone.
Yeah.
So when you read all of that on the website before mm-hmm. coming, how did you feel like? Did you feel something, maybe, as I said, apprehension?
Yeah, I did, but the apprehension wasn't around those things.
What was it about?
The apprehension was around sitting.
Sitting.
So I was really anxious about my capacity to sit mm-hmm. for prolonged periods so I did this meditation, and when I was doing the meditation online courses, I could sit for maybe 45 minutes, but as soon as you took away Reggie Ray, who was sort of looking over me, or I would struggle with more than 15 or 20 minutes of meditation before feeling uncomfortable, finding myself looking at the phone, checking that the timing was, that the phone hadn't collapsed or broken, and giving up. So the idea of switching from someone who could barely meditate for 15 minutes to being someone who would have to meditate for over an hour at a time, and then repeat that with short breaks for hours upon hours, was way ahead of what I was when I first thought I'm going to do the course. Mm-hmm.
And when you got into the meditation camp, what was your first impression, maybe first, second day since you started the course?
Yeah. Well, what was my impression of it? My impression of it was a kind of a strange one, because possibly maybe it's just me, or maybe it's for other people too. I think you only can get out of it what you're capable of putting in. So the first time I did, I told you I did the course twice. The first time I did it, I just didn't really understand what many other people were perhaps doing on the course. So I did get up at 4:30 or 4 o'clock, But I didn't go into the meditation hall, nor did I meditate. I just went for a walk and did a bit of casual meditation, as I had been before, sort of 10, 15 minutes on a bench outside. And it was only, I think, day 3 or day 4 that it dawned on me that not everyone, that a significant number of people were actually just meditating pretty much all the time, with short breaks to allow themselves to then be able to get back on the mat. So my first days were ones of just adjusting to it slowly by not really understanding quite what you were meant to be doing.
And do you remember at which point you started, if you did start, to notice some changes in your mind condition and your maybe perception? And do you remember that point, and what exactly happened, started to happen maybe?
Okay, so it's slightly contradicting what I just said, because even though I definitely wasn't meditating as many hours as I later realized that were available to me, I did, even within the first day, I noticed change, because the phone's away, and as soon as the phone's away, then there is a change. It's almost like my body relaxed, because there was less of that, or because all of those external impulses, to kind of be engaged with external aspects, they all sort of just disappear. I've been working both on the first and second retreat. I kind of was pretty much working on the train up there, so all of that sense of the most important thing is responding to work emails, to being part of that process. I've still got these things to do that are of vital importance. All of that just really quickly disappeared, because the space has no relation at all to that world. So there is no connection. There is no point worrying about work, because work is because there's no way of accessing that work. For 10 days, it's just me. So all of those things just beautifully just disappear, because they're clearly not relevant. There's just this space. And so within a very quick period of time, and it felt like this was true for most people there, how do I know? But it felt like it was a felt sense that we were collectively, as a group of guys, because the women were another section of the space, but we were all, our nervous systems were all relaxing together, and we were looking at the world with a new sense of joy and curiosity.
I think, as most of people who do this meditation, you probably felt a lot of physical pain because of sitting for many long hours every day during the course, and also probably mental. Many people have also mental pain, because this like mind work patterns which people have in their daily life, daily routine, you kind of, at least from my experience, you kind of break it, and you try to just establish maybe new pattern where you would be more maybe at peace with yourself. And there's so many more things you could be said about it, but that's quite painful process. And if you have this, first of all, did you have this physical and mental pain, and how did you manage both of them?
Okay, maybe physical first?
Yeah, maybe the physical first.
Okay. So I had prepared myself a little bit by trying to do Vipassana length meditations beforehand, and then there were various tricks, like the number of cushions. There's a whole world, a shared world, where we're not talking about it, but you can look and see everyone else's cushions. I can see that we're all trying desperately to find a way of remedying the huge physical challenge, at least for me, huge physical challenge of it. And I guess I just surprised myself by having greater capacity to cope with physical discomfort than I realized I had. And I think that some of that boot camp mentality was still there, certainly on the first time, not on the second one. But it felt, I wasn't doing it because I was in a boot camp, more just because the pain didn't feel that important. It lost its centrality. You know, it was there, but it didn't feel that it was the most important thing for me. The most important thing was the sitting and being in the practice. And so I never felt that it wasn't something that I could endure, although it was for sure something that I was very, very conscious of.
So you still could feel the pain, but you just could disregard it with ease?
Not with ease, but I could the ease was, let's definitely not go that far. But I could experience it as not the central thing that preoccupied me.
Okay, so you could basically cope with it and maintain the focus on the things which really matter for the progress in the meditation.
Which is just being as conscious as possible as I experienced it on the breath and on the sensation within the body.
So what about the mental pain?
I didn't experience this in quite the same way. I found that my body and my mind relaxed. I found myself more relaxed, like a kind of relaxation that comes for me when I go into a park and my body just kind of feels like it's relaxing, and my mind feels like the chatter is relaxing because I'm amongst friends, the trees, the nature and so on. I kind of felt that sense that I was in a space that was incredibly calming. And so I think the only, not say the only one, but the only moment where I was really in trouble mentally in terms of my emotional state was a kind of a feeling I had day 4 or 5, just a kind of a paranoia came over me, a sense of real separation from others, and that was a sense of real worry about my mental well-being. That passed.
Sorry, just separation from people in general, that you're on your own, or separation from people like your family and friends who are outside, obviously, of the meditation camp?
Yeah, I think both, but I think more, it felt like a sort of it reached worry level. Like, could I get back to a state where I could relate? Could I get back to a state where I could relate to people as I had done before? Or had I kind of gone too far? It was like this. It was like an anxiety. Oh, shit! I've gone too far here. I've gone down some rabbit hole of self-awareness, and now I won't be able to get back to the stability of connections that I know.
Like, you get detached from this world, from people around, and you were maybe afraid of staying that far and that.
Exactly, exactly. That was exactly what happened.
Okay, and can you tell us how you dealt with this constant flow of thoughts we have in our mind, whether we meditate or not? Even when we meditate, it still sometimes gets a bit hard. We find ourselves in our thoughts in the past, in the future, in some imaginary situation which never happened to us, and we get worried or feel sometimes aversion about those things. Yeah,
it didn't feel like more of a problem dealing with it than outside. Like today I've had, as we all have had, lots and lots of thoughts, and some useful, some irrelevant, some problematic. They've all kind of come up. It's just, it never felt like such a. It just didn't feel like a big deal. It's just part of the process. I think certainly as the process went on for the first time and in the second time, as I stopped thinking, I've got 10 days and the aim of the game is enlightenment, as I realized that is itself a thought and is itself, as nonsensical as many of the other thoughts that I was having, then I could just be aware that the thoughts are just coming in and out, and they're just part of what it is to be in a meditative state or in a meditative space, that there are thoughts. And there were some thoughts that felt like they were powerful collective thoughts. Like, for example, on the second meditation, a plane came really close, and it was like I had that sense of real interest. If a plane was to smash into us, which group of terrorists would choose to attack a Vipassana retreat? And then
so you could hear the plane like flying over the meditation center, and you like, okay.
Exactly. And I talked about this after the first time with someone, was talking about terror attacks and all sorts of other thoughts and ideas. And what I found just so funny is that she'd had exactly the same things had gone through her head, which is not to say they go through everyone's head. I think there is just, there's like individual thoughts, there's some collective ideas that get disseminated, that sort of spread, but it is just part of, for me, it's just part of what it means to meditate, is to have thoughts.
Have you ever found yourself in a situation during the meditation session when you got lost in some thoughts, which normally happens from time to time to meditators?
Yeah.
And then you realized that, I need to bring my attention back to breathing or sensations, observation. But the thought which got into your head so attractive, because when you in this meditation camp, your mind is purified, and you maybe it gets sharper, and you can feel and then maybe just feel and realize some emotions, some thoughts much clearer to observe it. And that's just part of my personal, to be honest, experience. So have you ever found yourself in that situation? So it's really attractive, interesting thought, and you like, maybe I'll stay with that thought a bit more, like I wouldn't bring attention back to my breathing. Have you been there, or?
It's like the dirty secret, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe. Guilty pleasure, maybe.
Exactly.
Meditator.
I think I would have to confess, yes. So I've done that, and it's quite funny. That's a great question, because when I finish the whole process both times, after I get the phone back, the first thing I do is I've got a whole raft of new ideas about various things, and I write them down.
You wrote it down, yeah?
I write them down. I take notes.
Even though you're not allowed to.
Oh, as soon as I got the phone, the phone back.
After the on the 10th day, basically.
Exactly. So I do wait.
Right.
I do follow the rules, but I do. I know. Just like I know that when I'm looking at the plants, there's a deeper level of meditation than just looking at the plants and then looking at the plants. I know that these thoughts are not the be-all and end-all. As you say, when they are purer, clearer, they really are. They have a real allure.
And there is some danger because you can get more attached. So you purify your mind, but it's more probability, more danger to get attached, because your mind is sharper and it's like perceive much in much maybe brighter way some things.
Exactly. So it's all part of the challenge of Vipassana, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the big challenges is getting ourselves lost.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, and try to be more resilient. And is there any insight you've got during this course which you maybe feel comfortable sharing?
So insights. I guess one really important change for me, insight change, was, I talked about it a little bit before, was about my level of resilience, which was, I realized I was more resilient than I had previously thought, because I had completed this course and it was physically challenging and I hadn't given up and I'd stayed to the end. And I think, there's a few key moments during the course where it is physically challenging, and I hadn't succumbed to anxieties around those, particularly the first time. I hadn't succumbed to anxieties around thinking, this is just beyond me. And so I left feeling that I'm interested in knowing myself a little better. Rather than knowing myself better, I thought, okay, I don't know myself perhaps as well as I thought. I mean, I want to see how, a little bit more of that sense of I want to learn more about who I am and what I am capable of. Not that I know it, but I know I became more aware that I had less sense of myself than I had before.
You got the direction, maybe.
Well, a bit of a sense of direction, but more just a kind of more curiosity about what is my capacity to cope with challenge and to be present in challenging situations, and obviously and hopefully to be of some value to others in challenging circumstances. I felt like this would be, I think that's probably something I do in my life much more now, is I enjoy being in quite challenging circumstances because I'm interested in part in whether in my capacity to be of value and present in that space.
And can you recall that particular moment when you could maybe realize your inner strength? Something comes up maybe in your mind and you realize, oh, now I'm stronger, now I can do something which I thought I'm not capable of.
So I think that in terms of those 10 days, it came for me pretty clearly on the day where we were first introduced to the Vipassana practice. And there's that sense of, at least the first time, seemed less so the second, but the first time, this real sense that there's a collective anxiety around the length of time that we're going to have to stay in the space. Ideally, pretty not quite stringent, but pretty much a sense we shouldn't be moving for a 2-hour period. And that I stayed, that I was able to, that I chose to go back in, even though I knew it would be difficult, that I stayed in the space. And then that, what felt like a kind of a beautiful sense that we'd all survived, almost like we'd all survived a plane crash. Everyone looked like they'd been through something difficult, but we'd been through it together. I didn't experience that the second time on anything like that scale, but it for the first time, that was a very important thing for me. I think that's day 4 or 5.
On 4th or 5th day.
Yeah,
okay.
is that moment where we've got to a point where we're then being taught the specifics of the actual Vipassana meditation itself. That was the moment.
And what about the discourses, which every day you listen some little discourses, or we can call it little lectures, about theory of this meditation, maybe some interesting stories.
Yeah.
So did it help you to maintain the practice and to give maybe some guidance? Did it give you some guidance on how you practice?
I didn't really see it. I didn't really see that as its purpose. I mean, I'm sure that is its purpose, but I experienced it as a real important aspect of the course because it was difficult at the end of the day. You've done the whole day of meditation, to not lose focus and to return to some prior way of experiencing yourself. Because it's a video. Because it has a familiarity. It's like watching TV. It was always interesting to me to see people kind of sat against the walls, to see people, including myself, doing different things with their cushions in order to be able to find the space more relaxing. So I just felt very, very privileged on the second course that I was in front of a guy who was able to uniquely, certainly it felt like from looking around, was able to just retain the same level of meditative focus, not moving at all, beautiful posture, during the whole of during each and every one of Gonka's videos, whereas pretty much everyone else, absolutely myself included, were shifting around, squirming, as I experienced it, finding it quite a challenging experience. And so I would love to experience the videos again, because I think that it is being able to connect with that as a meditative experience is almost like it's not about levels, but if it was about levels, then that is a next level, is to be able to remain in a deeply meditative state when those videos are going on.
So you say it's not about levels. You mean it doesn't matter your level of ability to meditate, or because to me it seems like if you more experience, of course, even after many years of experience, you can have some days when you meditate worse, or it's harder for you to focus. But I think there's still general level of your ability to focus, to meditate. But you said it's not about levels.
No, it's interesting. I say that only because I guess I've got conviction inside myself, which is that, you know, I don't want to see this. I don't experience it particularly anymore as a competitive process, which I did at the start. Nor do I believe that through doing X, Y, Z number of these retreats or meditating in between, I'm going to achieve something that in my head I've got down as some sort of enlightened state. But at the same time, I do absolutely believe that different people are experiencing those hour-long meditations in different ways, and I do believe it's possible to categorize those. I do. You know,
yeah, it's
from I don't even want to put down the categories, but there is clearly even within that space there is some real key differences between the quality of meditation that's going on.
Can you give us a little comparison of your first course and second course? What things were same and what things were different in your experience?
Well, I mean, a key difference was I knew on the second course, at least I'm sure someone else will say this is not true, but I felt I knew that the purpose of being there was at least in part to engage in as much meditation as possible. So I did turn up at 4:30, and I only stopped meditating because to my capacity at that time, I stopped because I didn't feel I could meditate any longer without being in so much physical difficulty that it would impact on my ability to carry on later in the day. So I felt that I was part, and again, for me, this community is important, even though we're not talking. I felt that I was in a little mini community of other people, which included you, who were really engaging in this in a serious manner, in that we were spending hours upon hours upon hours in the hall. And I mentioned you literally only because you were in this small little area that was the group that became my world. There was like 6 or 7 people, and we were like that was like a community within a community.
Yeah.
So that really changed. I felt that, it was all about the meditating. The second thing that changed was.
Sorry, just wanted to add some.
Yeah.
And that's like when you're in this little community, you don't interact, you don't speak to one another, but somehow on the background you feel the support, because you see people sit around you, people work very hard, people pursue some like spiritual development or like to improve their ability to focus, to get their mind sharper, and you can feel it, and it somehow like helps you also to be more focused, to overcome the pain and difficulties.
Yeah.
That's just what I wanted to share a bit of how I felt.
That's
about
so nice
this
that you felt the
same thing which you just brought up.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was one thing. The other thing, many things I'm sure, but the other thing that really stood out was the first time when it was over, I wanted to talk. I was so excited to be talking to everyone. I was full of creative ideas, relative to my normal state, full of ideas. Someone said they were new to cooking, and so I bought them a cookbook that I then sent to their house. I was just constantly kind of in this flow of connection. And the second time I didn't really feel that so much. I felt like I wanted to retain more of what I had built up over that time. It felt like it would dissipate it to just be having kind of not beautiful conversation the first time, but still the aspect of randomness. I didn't want that. I had certain people, including the guy who was at the front and was actually able to meditate all the way through Gunka's talks. I was really, really keen to engage with him. And that turned out to be a good idea because we had some really interesting conversations. So I became, just I guess just like someone who's not quite around the block, but I've been part of this process, and I guess it would be possibly more of the same next time. That's that sense of excitement, having overcome a boot camp or succeed in a boot camp. I don't know, it's no longer relevant. So my experience with the other people in the space is a little different too. We're all on our own journeys to an extent.
And I noticed many people who undergone 2 courses. They share that the second course, in a sense, is more difficult because before the course you have expectations. So for the first time you come, you don't know what to expect. You read a bit, but it's still, you didn't have an experience yet. And from that point it may be easier to be right here, right now, in the moment, and just there's nothing exists for you for the moment apart from the sensation in your nose as you're breathing, and so. When you do the second time, from my own experience and many meditators' experiences, that you sit and you think, okay, last course it was like at that point it was already, I could see this improvement. I felt this way. Why it doesn't happen to me? And with your mind, logically, you understand that each experience is. There are no 2 experiences repeating itself. There's every time, every session, it's different, it's individual, and even for the same individual, as they say, you can't go into the same river 2 times, right? The river is flowing. And so did you have such thing when you came for the second?
Ish, but not quite, because my perception of it had changed. So I think I have escaped a little bit, not just in the retreat, but in my life, from this. It's almost embarrassing to talk about it, but it's so childlike, a childlike desire to achieve enlightenment. And as that has gone, it really has kind of just gone. It's strange. It really has just disappeared. That meant that the course was very different. So I didn't. That sense of okay, I would expect to be here. I was really hoping I'd be here. I'm not sure you quite mean that, but in my mind, this idea of, I was here last time, I want to be here this time, and then in my 4th one, I want to be here. I didn't really have that. I felt much more open to it being whatever it was, and was just much more conscious, perhaps than the first time, of being interested in the people that clearly meditated more than me. What were they doing that was different to me? So just talk about someone else that had been doing many more courses, and I knew they'd been doing many more courses because of this. There's an incredible ranking which comes from the seating, right? So if you're in, I think I was in row D or E, because I'd done this as my 2nd time. There's nothing more to it than that. But if someone who's in row A, they are clearly someone who has been there quite a lot of the time. And there was one guy who just your paths seem to cross with certain people. So at the end, it's kind of interesting, even though there was, I think, 75 guys that did it, most I had no real connection with, and I think some I wouldn't even recognize. But 1 or 2, our paths just kept coming back. They kept connecting. And there was one who walked. Was part of the Vipassana retreat is not just the meditation, but it's the way that we are outside that space, and to what extent we can sustain a meditative state outside. And I think, obviously, the aim of the game is to retain the meditative state throughout the full 10 days, in or out of the hall. And there was this one guy who clearly had that more nailed than I did. The way that he was when walking, it really it interested me. And so I started to adjust my own way of walking within the woods, so that I kind of moved away from this kind of, oh man, it's a leaf, and this, and it's, obviously there's such real importance in our world, any world, in really connecting deeply with nature. But I realized he was not doing that. He had already pretty much, well, from the start, he was going through he was keeping it internal. And I thought, okay, I need to see if I can develop some of that myself.
Don't you find it as a distraction? Because probably, I'm not sure if you agree, but it's meditation experience is very individual. And on the other hand, sometimes maybe you can learn from other people. So don't you find it as it could be a distraction from your personal experience that you observe other people and maybe compare and try to adjust maybe your...
I mean, 100%. Yeah, these are ultimately that none of this should be happening. You know?
But it still helps.
I believe it helps me.
At least you.
It helped me in this process. I think what I did the first time, it's interesting you say that, was the first time I'd created such powerful stories about everyone. In everyone, not everyone, but so many people, I knew them inside out. But I didn't know them at all. But I built such stories.
Stories about the other meditators around you.
So I could have told you. I could have written a book about everyone. I knew everyone so well.
But it was based on what you observed about them and your imagination. You just draw the picture further.
Exactly. There's no basis at all.
Just your impression.
First a quick impression, and then a lot of my own mind wandering. And I think. It felt better the second time that I was looking at the people and being interested in what they were doing relating to the practice, as opposed to sort of imagining a whole backstory as if that I was some sort of screenwriter on the course.
So when on the 10th day, when you were allowed to speak to other people, and you probably got to know more people who you already had picture about. So how far was the picture in your mind from the real personality or characters of...
I think what's so great,
these meditators.
What is so great is I think if you just see someone in passing and then you get a chance to meet them, you've had a bit of time to create a story. But after 10 days, the story is so full out, so developed, that it bears zero relation to the person that you actually see, because of course it can't, and it doesn't. It meets. They collide, and I think that's so funny.
And that's developed too far from the real human.
Yeah. So there's literally, it's so clear that they do this. They've got this family. They've got this. They live there. This is the work they do, and it never bears any relation to the person that's actually there.
Actually, I think it might bear relation to that person, but it's just different perspective. So that's your impression, and that maybe in a way that could be even more like pure your impression of that person, because when you get to know a person and your impression from that person, it's attached or related to where the person works, what they do for life, what their hobbies, and but those things quite often they're not that important maybe for getting to know like purely who they are. Those are pretty much standard set of like things in life they do, and maybe that one like more pure, like just you can feel maybe the energy of the person, you can see maybe sometimes the face expression they tell us, like some character traits, and it's not like described in some particular like qualities which you write in your CV, but there's just more like pure impression and pure experience.
I think so. I don't know whether the storytelling is that, but I think that feels maybe connected. But I think what was important the second time for me was that I felt there were certain people who, even though I now knew I didn't know their story, there was some aspect of the way I had experienced them in that space that meant I was really interested in getting to know more about them. There was something there. They had something that I was curious about knowing.
Yeah, what I really like about this course is that when you come and you see people and you really don't know the social class, background, preferences, the description on your like Instagram page or whatever, and from that point you really maybe everyone, it doesn't matter. It just matter who you are, but in a deeper sense, like how your mind works, how much control of your mind you can get, and explore yourself through. And once you explore yourself more, you can get maybe a clearer picture of the world around you, and that's what really was like in a good way triggering for me, to give me some more understanding of me and the world around me during the meditation. So on the 10th day, apart from this like comparison of people experiences when you talk to them and your impression from the observation during the course. What else you found maybe interesting to mention about last 10th day of the course?
Yeah, I guess there is a feeling of excitement. There was a feeling of excitement and trepidation. Excitement at being able to sustain some of that purity of thought, or whatever we want to call it, clarity of thought, more clarity of thought, excitement about being able to sustain that, and a trepidation about how I would be able to do that in the face of patterns and habits that have been established in terms of how I am with people and with the world. That's there. That's been there for both times.
And when you came back home after this course, can you tell us, was there any difference in your daily routine, in the way you react? What first things you noticed after the first course, maybe when you got back home?
So the first thing I noticed was I actually got on a plane. I mean, it's definitely not recommended, but I got on a plane pretty much, I think even the same day. Okay. Later in the same day, I was on a plane going to Austria for a family holiday. And so that kind of anxiety about how do I sustain this in the face of real spaces that are not generally considered to be particularly meditatively friendly. But I have such a vivid impression of that plane ride because I was just so deeply moved by the care of the stewards towards some of the passengers. And at the end of the flight, I just went over and talked to them.
There's a spider.
I talked to them for around half an hour about just how wonderful I'd found them, and gave them some advice on something. They'd been talking. I'd just been spending the whole time listening and engaging with them. And then when I met family, particularly when I met my partner, her anxiety, which had been expressed before, was that I would be someone who would be up my own arse, thinking that I'd achieved some sort of enlightened state, or would need to spend the whole time talking about the meditative process, or where I was, or who I now was, or how they should all do it, all the kind of stuff that's just quite exhausting. Basically, she was worried about an explosion of ego, a kind of ego celebration of the fact that I'd done it. And what was really beautiful both times was that actually I just felt a deeper sense of connection with other people, and more curiosity about their experience, and less need to share my own thoughts and stories as if that they are of central global importance. They just felt like they're useful to share. There may be something to share, but they're not something that has to be shared.
Did you notice any difference in your ability to focus on things, maybe doing your job, reading, or maybe studying something? Was it like longer, or it just was more or less the same?
Well, it's so hard to say. I think that possibly more focus. I really enjoy focusing at work.
You found some improvements in your cognitive. For myself, I could notice that I can learn faster, and you already mentioned, it's like more genuine curiosity.
Yeah.
It can be without meditation, but it's like easier being maybe sparked when you and you feel more. Your mind is more sharp to absorb information, to sort out what you need and what you don't need in this flow of information. So did you experience anything like that?
Possibly. It's not quite so straightforward, I think, for me as that. But I do really enjoy being in environments where there's lots going on, and trying to, in that space, trying to think about what it is that is perhaps most useful or valuable for that space in terms of next steps. I do really enjoy. I enjoy being in complex space. Perhaps I think even more so. That's possible. Yeah.
Okay, and now just to summarize overall experience, would you, I guess after all what you just said, you probably, if people ask you like whether they should go or not, I think it's likely you say like, yeah, that's an interesting thing to try. So why do you think people would try it, and how it could be helpful? Just basically like summarize like the first maybe things which come on your mind.
I mean, to be honest, I've stopped recommending things. I think that my experience has been I've recommended so many things over the years which were of value to me, and it's quite unusual that people take that on. Certain people say yes to things, and many find that more challenging. So I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, I would say what I've said is this has been my experience of that. It's not in any way to say that it's going to be someone else's experience of it. I have really got huge amounts out of it, but I don't have any. I have no sense anymore at all that means that someone else that I talk to will get the same out of it. They might get different things. They might get nothing. They might hate it, might like it. I just don't think it's. I don't know that my experience is the same as is going to be the same as anyone else's. It might be, but could well not.
That makes sense. Yeah. And anyway, thank you for taking the time to share with us this amazing experience. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Maybe you found something useful for yourself. And all the best to everyone. Share your comments if you have anything to share, maybe about your experiences. Yeah, bye everyone.